Welcome, everybody. It's another month going by, and that means another Bokksu near the tail end of it. This might even stretch into June, because I've been heavy at work and trying to find time to record these little snippets while I'm still doing all my other stuff for the channel. But, hooray! I found some time to get some of this stuff done. So, over the next few days, I'm going to be able to get these bits of footage recorded and talk about the monthly Bokksu snack unboxing. So, for those unaware, it's a Japanese snack box company, and there are several, but Bokksu is the one I use. Bokksu. I use Bokksu primarily. But you get about 15-ish snacks, plus little snippets of information about the theme, a little bit of a thank you card, as you see there. So you learn a little bit about Japanese culture, you learn a bit about the snacks, and I do my best to kind of like grade them, mostly on vibes, but sometimes on a 1 through 5 scale, just to keep my head straight. And I have my biases, so every time I've dug into these, I like what I like and I don't like what I don't like. But I've been pleasantly surprised or sadly disappointed. That's the benefit, is you just never know until you try it. And that's part of the fun of this, is I don't know what are in these boxes. I try not to look at them until I actually eat the thing, and I try to give as quick a snap judgment, plus also a, coming from an American perspective, an American analog, if I can't, easily identify it. But for those with the more American mindset, this is more like this thing from America or whatever. The easiest way to describe it, because some of these are unique. Some of them are exactly what they taste like. But who knows? Part of the fun is just experimentation. So let's get going with the Decade in Bloom. This is a celebration of 10 years of Bokksu. I started 4 years ago. This is the beginning of the 5th year, I think. And I have not regretted it at all. And let's jump into more culture stuff first. Gotta love this totally professional phone camera work. Anyway, let's learn Japanese is one of my favorite little things to do before the actual snacks. So this actually kind of shows parts of the Japanese prefectures and places where they take the snacks from. And on the right hand side is a few different words and their translations for that. So we have Niwa, garden, Ajisai, hydrangea, Tsubomi, flower bud, and Sampo, taking a walk. I will say up front, one of the things I'm noticing about this month's guide is they have a theme, and I don't know if the color scheme works great for trying to take pictures. It's a lot of dark on dark, dark and dark greens. But for what I was able to get, even though my humidifier's cord was in the way, they got a culture guide, 4 different little panels talking about the theme of the month, and I think I was able to get all of the things in camera shot. Feel free to take a second to read about them. I find those things fun. And here you see the box closed and the box open, so you get to see what I'm going to be dealing with. And I like to eat them all at once, but if I can't, then I will take stock of the things that I can get and kind of remember, like, I like going by vibes, but sometimes if I have to go by number, I will. So it's a nice little way for me to remember whether I liked one of these or not. But you'll notice that in the box, there are about 15 different things, and some multiples if they're small enough. So let's get going. Cassis and blueberry tea. I like this. I have a daily black tea and a daily green tea, but I'm used to like Earl Grey being very pronounced. I'm also used to like herbals and fruity and whatnot teas when I do have them to be very intense with the fruit flavor. And usually when I get these Bokksus, I get green tea or smoky teas. This was a standard tea, like pretty straightforward. The if there was fruit at all, there's hints of it, but it's nothing crazy. One of the better herbals I've had because it's not trying to be too intense one way or another. This was pretty nice. Potato Maru Light Salt. It sounds and tastes exactly as you'd think. Lightly salted. Tastes exactly like a crispy tater tot or a Taco John's potato ole if you've had those. So, no frills, just a nice light salt without it becoming overwhelming. I liked it. I read this one and knew I wasn't gonna like it. Shrimp chips, salt and wasabi. I've never been a shrimp guy. Wasabi is an acquired taste, which I don't mind in small doses next to sushi and maybe some other things. But man, it smelled horrible when I opened the bag, and the taste was not much better. I will say it tasted better than it smelled, if that goes anything. The shrimp taste is there immediately. It's subtle enough that it won't kill you, but the wasabi is there. It's kind of a dull wasabi, which is, I guess, fine, but I just can't get past the shrimp taste, man. Oof. Grilled edamame beans. If you ever had them from a store, you know what you're in for. Nothing too crazy about these ones. Something about edamame and kind of the aftertaste leads me to never like fully endorse edamame as like an ongoing snack. But I do know that I've always liked it whenever I've had it. So, decent enough, not something I would grab all the time. This thing looks like they dug it up off a golf course. The matcha financier. I have to admit, I was expecting it to taste a lot grittier and kind of gross, but what I got instead was a kind of sugary, kind of nutty, and kind of matcha, and the matcha was actually the least intense I've experienced in most foods. Probably because of the base is already gritty and ground up as is, the matcha can kind of dig into the flavor rather than overpower it. So this, despite how it looks, was actually pretty decent. Marudena biscuits, tiramisu flavor. Not a tiramisu or a coffee person, and I was dreading this, but I ended up not hating it completely. More so, I was bemused by the consistency. The best way I would describe it would be like a very easy to eat shortbread cookie that was encased in cake icing. It's kind of overwhelming and not in a pleasant way. And the tiramisu flavor you can smell a mile away. And if you like that sort of thing, you might be able to mask it, but I think the consistency would drive you mad. Ausa seaweed senbei. Would be okay rice crackers if not for a couple of reasons. The seaweed does distract from whatever salt and whatever consistency there is in the cracker. So I already didn't like it there. And then as soon as I was getting done with the handful that I had, there was this weird aftertaste, like this very gummy-ish, chewy-ish feel. It just didn't feel right. Because it's crunchy, but man, it just turns to mush and doesn't feel good. So this one's a miss. One Bite Toast Rusk, sugar butter flavor. This one I had high hopes for because rusk treats tend to be really good. This one I think it was dependent on the flavor. It was fine, but weird. I think the consistency didn't match the flavor very well, and I wasn't bowled over by it. This one reminds me of like a cinnamon toast crunch or a French toast crunch if you molded it into the shape of like a Cheetos cheese ball or something, the puffier ones, or, you know, encased them in that way. The sugar is fine, but I think the toastness of it and the butter kind of distract from it a smidge. So it's good, but it could be better. Morosh gummy, ramune flavor. This one is a pretty decent gummy. Very sour. Even when the kind of soda-ish ramune flavor hits at the end to give a little bit of sugar that's not too intense, the sour part of the gummy lingers quite a bit. So it's definitely something you have to like sour candy to go for, but it's not too bad. Melon soda mochi. It's pretty hard to screw up mochi, and most of the times I've had it, it's always been solid enough as my air freshener goes off while I'm trying to record this. Good job. So, melon soda mochi, I noticed kind of like the ramune, there was that little hitch of soda flavor, little bit of fruitiness. Unlike the tartness and the sourness of the gummy, this one was better because it was just pure sugar. So, not bad. Matcha Daqoise. Fairly similar to the financier from earlier. The matcha is somewhat more noticeable, but still, there's enough sugar and enough kind of groundedness in the almond butter flavoring in the middle to counteract the matcha from being too intense. So it's on the same level as the financier was. Zaku, salt cookie. Pretty straightforward, nothing fancy with this one. Kind of a shortbread or a butter cookie, namely butter. Easy to eat. The salt comes in way late. So if you like something, like if you ever eaten wasabi and had that heat come like way after everything else, think of that but with salt in a cookie. It mixes well at first though, so I don't think the salt really changes the dynamic. It leads to a weird kind of aftertaste, but not in a bad way. It's just salt. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. Handmade muscat candy, so muscat grape, and I could definitely tell as soon as I had it. They always seem to put these hard candies in there as a change of pace kind of thing, and it really kind of does depend on the flavor. Muscat was a very subtle, shallow grape flavor that you could tell without it being overpowering like some other fruits. This one was decent. Salt seaweed mozuku cookie. This one is just kind of there. The seaweed is there but hidden on the flour, so if it was distinct, it really didn't come across. So it's just a cookie. Could be worse, I guess. Millet sandwich cookie, matcha flavor. I'm starting to think this was a secret matcha month because there have been so many matcha things. And this one is a better representation of a salt cookie than the actual salt cookie. I liked the salt and the cream kind of mixing together. The consistency of the cookie itself was nice and thick, but I don't think the flavor was amazing in any way. Like if this was a chocolate and you added the salt, it would have been like chocolate sea salt or a sea salt caramel. The matcha chocolate just kind of was there. White chocolate strawberry. I was kind of hoping for either something tart or something very luxuriously chocolate. I got neither. And I just kind of got a lump of light chocolate with a little bit of less cool white chocolate in it. So it was like, no, I'm not really impressed. And I finish up with the Hokkaido Pumpkin Lunge de Cha. A lunge de cha with pumpkin inside infused with white chocolate. And this one would have been okay. Probably one of the better ones for a while had the aftertaste not been great. The pumpkin is fine. I like the aftertaste. I like the most of the bite, and then it just kind of hits really awkward at the end. Like I'm noticing it as I'm speaking. That and the water, I suppose. But I'm just noticing the feel of the aftertaste. It wasn't terrible aftertaste, you know, like the wasabi and shrimp stuff, but it was there. And if I sound disappointed, because I was. This box has been kind of middle of the road with one or two really bad things and nothing that ever stood out. But, you know, that's what happens sometimes. You can't control what's in these things, but you hope, right? And I don't regret buying it, and I've never regretted buying it, even if the end result is never like, oh my god, I crossed the board, or ugh. This one is just a lot of, it's doable, but nothing I would go out of your way to buy if you were interested. But if you're interested in Bokksu, or Sakura Co., or Tokyo Treat, or some other snack box like that, I wouldn't regret the purchase. I've done this for years. I've always had an excitement whenever the box comes. You know, even if the end result is something like this, I don't regret it. And I hope you guys don't regret watching this. So I'll get this stuff edited and it'll be out to you later today. See you.